I'm Peter. Welcome to my shop. Hello, I'm Peter Ross. Welcome to my blacksmith shop. Today I'm going to make a pair of compasses, just like this pair in my hand, called square head compasses. And it's a style that was really common from really the late 1600s well into the early 20th century, used for several hundred years. Most of my career I've spent working in a historic setting, and my work and my interest was to figure out how tools like this were made 200 years ago without the machinery and precision equipment that we have today in the 20th century. How did people make tools like this with moving joints and pieces that fit together precisely with really very crude tools like a hammer, an anvil, and a file? So that's the way I'm going to approach this, and I hope it'll be interesting to you too. Thanks. These are the compasses we're going to make. They're an excellent size for laying out dovetails, for small measuring, for proportion work, and historically they were sold by the thousands to cabinet makers and joiners and carpenters. I happen to have, in addition to the pair I've made here, I happen to have a couple of antique pair. Let's look at them for a second. So here's one that survives, and sometimes these show up where you least expect them. Tool stores or yard sales. And here's a larger pair. So these are a nice pair made by Jarvis, a tool maker in England. So they're made, as you can see, to a similar pattern, although the sizes were varied. And some are a little more complicated, some are better made, some are a little less well made. These also show up in surviving catalogs from that era, and I happen to have a reprint of one of those catalogs right here. So let's take a look at that. They were called pattern books, not catalogs, but pattern books were put out by lots of companies that sold tools and sold standard patterns and sizes. This one is a copy of a pattern book most likely used by W&C Wynne and published originally about 1820. And let's see, just a couple of sample pages, you can see a good range of household goods, tools. And here are some of the tools: turn screws, saw sets. So let's turn to the page that has these compasses. And here you can see 3 patterns of compass: round head, square head, and rule joint. Those are the 3 patterns that they offered. So what we're going to be making are the square head. And if we hold that up to the page, you see they match the pattern pretty well. The originals were made in lots of sizes, and you can see prices for each of those different sizes, and you would just order the pattern and the size that you wanted. So they're really nice, comfortable to use, nice, elegant pattern. So let's go make a pair. Okay, now we're ready for the fun part, the forging. But first, let me talk about this forge for a second. It's a cast iron table with a basin that holds the fire, and in this case, the fire's coal, soft coal. And then there's a fan in the back that just blows air up through the fire. So that's the whole arrangement. We have a chimney that just draws off the smoke through natural draft. And I have a rheostat here that controls how much air goes into the fire. That's really pretty simple. Just a fire with a way of blowing air through it. And all of this rig is probably made about 75 or 80 years ago. Let's start on the forging. It doesn't matter which leg we forge first, since they're going to be squeezed together later. So let's just start on the single leaf, the central leaf one. I've got some mild steel. This happens to be 3/8 square material, which is a good size for this size compass. And I'm going to do most of this by eye. I don't measure very much, but if you make a lot of these, you just get accustomed to the amount of material. And my sense is that tradesmen making these in the 18th and 19th century, because they made them so often, were able to make the parts freehand. Very few special tools. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the hammer and anvil, just different parts of the anvil to get the shape that I need.